Good day, everyone. My name is Gisari A. Cayetano, and today I will talk about Il Filibusterismo, Jose Rizal's second novel, published in 1891. So, this report will cover Rizal's journey in writing Il Filibusterismo, the struggles he faced in Ghent, the main characters in the novel, and how it compares to Noli Me Tangere. And this novel is not just a story, it shows Rizal's thoughts and feelings about the unfairness in the Philippines during his time. So, are you ready? Alright, let's start.
Alright, let us read first the overview of El Filibusterismo. So Rizal had begun writing it in October 1887 while practicing medicine in Calamba. The following year, 1888, in London, he made some changes in the plot and corrected some chapters already written. He wrote more chapters in Paris and Madrid and finished the manuscript in Biarritz on March 29, 1891. So it took him therefore 3 years to write his second novel.
Okay, so meaning Rizal began writing El Fili in October 1887 in Calamba, showing his dedication even while being a doctor. He was very concerned about the problems faced by his fellow Filipinos. So in 1888, while in London, he revised the plot and chapters showing his commitment to improving his ideas. He continued to write in Paris and Madrid, adding new chapters. And then he finished the manuscript in Beatrice on March 29, 1891, taking a total of 3 years. So this timeline shows how much effort Rizal put into creating a novel that would connect with the Filipino people.
Alright, so next we have deprivation in Ghent. Rizal left Brussels for Ghent, a famous university city in Belgium. So his reason for moving to Ghent were the first we have the cost of printing in Ghent was cheaper than in Brussels, and then second to escape from the enticing attraction of Petit Zan. So I'm sorry if sayop ako ang pag-pronounce sa name or sa mga lugar. I'm sorry for that. He met two compatriots both studying engineering in the world-famed University of Ghent. First, we have Jose Alejandro from Pampanga and the last one is Edelberto Evangelista from Manila. Owing to his limited funds, Rizal lived in a cheap boarding house with Jose Alejandro as roommate. And then, to economize further, they prepared their own daily breakfast in their room.
So, meaning Rizal chose Ghent for practical reason, mainly because printing was cheaper than in Brazil, so mas barato dito sa Ghent. So he also wanted to avoid distraction, especially from a woman named Petite Suzanne. So I'm sorry if ma-pronounce ako siya sa'yo. His living condition were very simple. He shared a cheap boarding house with his friend named Jose Alejandro, and they often cooked their own meals to save their money. And this shows the sacrifices he made for his work. A dramatic moment also happened when he almost burned the manuscript out of despair because he ran out of money. So this reflect the struggles and desperation found in the novels, right? Itself. So showing Rizal's commitment to his cause.
Next, the printing of El Filibusterismo. Rizal found a publisher, F. Meyer van Loo Press, who was willing to print his book on installment basis. Rizal became desperate because his funds were running low and the money he expected from his friend did not arrive. He had received some money from Basa and 200 pesos from Rodriguez Arias for the copies of Morga Sucesos sold in Manila. On August 6, the printing had to be suspended as Rizal feared because he could no longer give the necessary funds to the printer. And next, we have Ventura, savior of the Philly. His fund ran out in Ghent, a similar calamity that he experienced in Berlin. He almost hurled the manuscript of the Philly into the flames. When everything seemed lost, help came from an unexpected source. Valentin Ventura in Paris learned of Rizal's predicament and immediately sent him the necessary funds. With his financial aid, the printing of the Philly was resumed. The Philly comes off the press. On September 18, 1891, Il Filibusterismo came off the press. Rizal, now a very happy man, immediately sent on this day 2 printed copies to Hong Kong, one for Basa and the other for Secto Lopez. Practically, all copies of the first edition, Ghent edition, of El Filibusterismo were placed in wooden boxes and shipped to Hong Kong. But almost of the boxes were confiscated and the books were lost. So it came to pass that the book immediately became rare, and the few available Ghent copies were sold at a very high prices, reaching as high as 400 pesetas per copy.
Okay, so the publisher F. Mayer van Loo Press agreed to print El Filibusterismo on an installment basis, which shows Rizal's money problems. On August 6, 1891, the printing had to stop because Rizal could no longer afford to pay for it. So, this was a very low point for him. However, help came from an unexpected source, Valentin Ventura, who learned about Rizal's situation and sent him money from Paris. So, thanks to Ventura's help, the printing resumed and the book was finally published on September 18, 1891. So, this experience reflects the theme of last-minute help in the novel, highlighting the importance of friendship and support. Nakuha ra? Okay, next.
Dedicated to Gom Borza. Jose Rizal dedicated El Filibusterismo to Father Gomez, Father Burgos, and Father Zamora. Next, we have the manuscript and the book. The original manuscript of the El Filibusterismo in Rizal's own handwriting is now preserved in the Filipina Division of the Bureau of the Public Libraries, Manila. It had been acquired by the Philippine government from Valentin Ventura for 10,000 pesos. It consists of 279 pages of long sheets of paper. 2 features in the manuscript do not appear in the printed book, namely the foreword and the warning. These were not put into print evidently to save printing cost. Noli Me Tangere and Il Filibusterismo that are displayed at the Filipina Division of the National Library. So, si Noli Me Tangere, ang Noli Me Tangere and Il Filibusterismo kay nakadisplay ni siya ron sa Filipina Division of the National Library. Inscription on title page. The title page of Il Filibusterismo contains an inscription written by Ferdinand Blumentritt. And now we have the synopsis of the Il Filibusterismo. So as you can see, daghan kaayong mga name. Ang kaning mga name nga naa sa PowerPoint, mauni sila ang mga characters nga naa sa Il Filibusterismo nga novel.
Okay, so the characters in El Filibusterismo are rich and complex. Simon, the main character, is a wealthy jeweler who represents Rizal revolutionary ideas and the struggle for freedom, while Basilio, we met in Noli Me Tangere, is now a medical student, symbolizing hope for the future. Isagani, his idealistic lover, represent the passion of the youth for change. On the other hand, we have characters like Padre Salve, who represent the corrupt Spanish clergy, and Doña Victorina, who is a funny yet sad figure, showing the foolishness of those who blindly support colonial rule. So these characters and not only drive the story but also represent the social issues Rizal wanted to address. So nakuha ra ninyo ang point nga nung motoy mga characters nga gipili ni Rizal. So di katuding mga character nga gibangbutan ni Rizal sa El Feli kay dili lang basta-basta jud nga character jud siya. Napud siya gipangbutang dito nga like parehas ni Padre Salve nga represent siya sa corrupt nga nisakop na to before. So muna siya ang point ni Dr. Jose Rizal. So through his book makarealize jud ta kung giunsa-unsa ta sa una sa mga nisakop sa atua. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
And now, nanata sa pinaka-exciting nga part. Ang mabal-an nato kung unsay differences sa Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. So we were going to compare Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. First, we have Noli Me Tangere, a romantic novel with 64 chapters, and El Filibusterismo. It is a political novel with 38 chapters. Noli Me Tangere is work of the heart, a book of feeling. It has freshness, color, humor, lightness, and wit. While El Filibusterismo, on the other hand, is a work of the head, a book of the thought. It contains bitterness, hatred, pain, violence, and sorrow.
Alright, so when we compare Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, we see a big change in style and tone. Noli is a romantic novel filled with emotion and humor, while El Fili is more political and darker. The number of chapters also shows this change. Noli has 64 chapters, while Fili has only 38, indicating a tighter focus on the urgent need for revolution. The darker tone of El Fili shows Rizal's growing frustration with the colonial government and his call for immediate action against oppressions. This change in his writing reflects the changing situation in the Philippines and Rizal's growth as a thinker and activist. So nakita na to ang kalahian jud sa Noli Me Tangere og sa El Filibusterismo. Nakabantay mo sa Noli Me Tangere kay more on romantic, di ba? And then sa El Fili is puro na mga violente, mga naanay mga hatred, mga pain, di ba? So dito sa El Fili, urgent call to siya ni Jose Rizal sa atua nga mas nilala na jud ang situation sa Philippines that time nga nag-write siya og El Filibusterismo. So nakuha ra ang difference sa Noli Me Tangere og El Filibusterismo. Okay, good. So let's proceed to the next slide.
Rizal's unfinished novel. 4 days after the Fili came off the press, Rizal wrote to Blumentritt that he is thinking of writing a third novel. It shall deal mainly with the habits and custom of the Filipinos. October 18, 1891, Rizal boarded the steamer Melbourne in Marseilles bound for Hong Kong. During his voyage, he began writing his third novel in Tagalog, intended for Tagalog reader. The novel consists of 44 pages, and it is preserved in the National Library of Manila. Other unfinished novels. Makamisa, Tagalog novel with only 2 chapters consisting of 20 pages. Dapitan, written in Spanish, written during his exile in Dapitan consisting of 8 pages. A novel about the life in Pili, a town in Laguna, consisting of 147 pages. A novel about Cristobal, a youthful Filipino student who returned from Europe, consisting of 34 pages. Next, the beginnings of another novel are contained in two notebooks. The first notebook contains 31 written pages, while the second 12 written pages.
Alright, let so meaning the legacy of El Filibusterismo is very important. It inspired the Philippine Revolution, serving as a rallying cry for those seeking independence from colonial rule. The Philippines government recognized its importance by purchasing the original manuscript for 10,000 pesos, showing its value in our history. Additionally, Rizal's unfinished works like Mikamisa and Dapitan hint at the ideas he still wanted to explore, showing that his fight for justice and reform was far from over. This legacy continues to resonate today, reminding us of the power of literature in shaping our identity and inspiring change. Alright, so in overall, Il Filibusterismo was not just a novel. So, dili ra jud siya novel. It was a call to action. Its creation reflects the themes of struggle, resilience, and hope that Rizal experienced throughout his life. The survival of the novel, despite the many challenges Rizal's face, symbolizes the enduring spirit of the Filipino people. As we think about Rizal work, let us remember that we also have a responsibility to use our voices for justice and to continue the fight for truth and equality in our society. Thank you for your attention, and I will come any question you may have. So if you have any question about my topic, you can freely comment in the comment section. Thank you. Thank you, and hope you learned something about my topic.
So, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening kung unsa man nga time na inyong gilantaw ni nga video karon. Welcome to my report. I am Shirji Joet, and I will be reporting the chapter 20 of ophthalmic surgeon in Hong Kong, which is bali. In this topic, the coverage for this topic is about sa life ni Rizal in Hong Kong, unsa yung na-achieve sa Hong Kong, o unsa po itong mga gipang-write niya dito sa Hong Kong, katong starting from the books nga yung na-publish dito, mga works nga yung na-contributed in Hong Kong, as well as the last letters that he wrote in Hong Kong. So, let's start na. So, Rizal left Europe for Hong Kong, where he lived from November 1891 to June 1892. His reasons for leaving Europe were, first of all, life was unbearable in Europe because of his political differences sa katong mga other Filipinos in Spain. Mao na reason pod nga nung nilive siya sa Europe para mato sa Hong Kong. And other reason pod nga nung nilive siya sa Europe to go to Hong Kong is to be closer to the Philippines ug ma-close pod siya sa iyang pamilya diri. So, he left Ghent, Belgium, for Paris to bid farewell to his friends. So, as we all know, diba, if we read all of the mga documentation sa life ni Rizal, we know nga very, very professional, and kaning dali kayo mga tao nga maengganyo sa iya, kay very, kay siya ba, kaning gentleman nga with manners and so on, like, as well as pod kaning, we know that he has the multilingual abilities pod. So, mao po na reason nga daghan kay siyang ma-befriend nga mga tao sa lahi-lahi nga mga nationalities and countries. And he proceeded by train to Marseilles, and on October 18, he boarded the steamer Melbourne bound for Hong Kong. So, mato pa na siya sa Hong Kong. He carried a letter of recommendation by Juan Luna for Manuel Camus and 600 copies of El Filibusterismo. So as he kuan pod kining ni travel siya paingon sa Hong Kong no. Wala lang ni kay simple nga pa travel ra. He was also kuan nagdala siya katong letter of recommendation nga gigama ni Juan Luna para ihatag ni Manuel Camus, and he also bought kuan 600 copies sa El Filibusterismo. And then next, so man siya si Juan Luna. I am not gonna discuss that much na kay kabalo naman takin sa siya. And man siya si Manuel Camus. I'm gonna discuss a bit about him lang para makabalo po ta since wala ang kahit nakadungog po ani niya, di ba? So Manuel Camus DI is during that time he was a student and was made as Mason on October 12, 1898 at Zetland land in the East Lodge number 508 in Singapore under the jurisdiction of the M.W. Grand Lodge of England. He then became a senator of the Philippines on his later years. So kani si Manuel Camus is nahimo po din siya nga senator diri sa atong nasod or in the Philippines. So mao to siya si Manuel Camus. And then the next is we will discuss about the voyage, ang pag-travel ni Rizal, how it went ug unsay mga nahitabo. First of all, he described the sea voyage as heavenly due to the magnificent weather. So, gi-describe ni Rizal nga ang iyang voyage is very heavenly kay maayo daw kayo ang panahon ani nga time. And he also impressed fellow passengers, mostly Europeans, with his multilingual abilities. So what I have said earlier, di ba? Very talented guni si Rizal na siya'y kuan multilingual abilities. So bali ang gapbot sa ani is he can speak multiple languages. So tungod ani is daghan po kay siya nga nahimo nga friends, especially Europeans. Tungod ani nga abilidad niya. There were over 80 first-class passengers, mostly Europeans, including 2 Spaniards. He befriended many missionaries, and one of them is Father Push, a Tyrolese, which he enjoyed playing chess with. So, mao ni siya. As what I have said earlier po, di ba, very fun ni si Rizal nga pagkatao kaning gabi ka hilig mo socialize, no? So nakahimo po siya friend ay dito while gaboard siya atong steamer sa Melbourne paingon sa Hong Kong, in which mao to si Father Push, which is a Tyrolese. Ningon po to si Father Push nga he is a fine fellow, a Father Damaso without pride and malice. So gidescribe nila si Rizal as a man without pride and malice, which means nga very siya distinguished og kaning ano tawag ganyan, masyag makuan gani nga pagkatao kanang very rightful ganon, basta yes. And then as kuan pod as ni travel pod si Rizal is he also encountered gossiping German ladies. So during his voyage naay mga babae nga mga German in which naka-understood siya sa ilahang mga comments or panglibak. But he remained silent, which is mostly ang gipang, ano siya tawag? How do we call this? But let's just say panglibak, diba? So, kuan, mostly is, ang reason ani is because probably he's the only Asian pod nga on board ato nga time mas sumarg. Mahimo po siya nga, i-chismisan siya, ganon. And, even though na yung mga negative comments, ana blah blah blah, kuan wala siya gapatarog. Even though nakasabot siya silang ipang-ingon, he still remained professional ug silent. And then he discreetly closed the door during a squall. When we say a squall, man na siya ang katong kalit nga pagkakusog sa hangin, in which naka-earn siya og respect ato nga mga nang chismis niya nga bayi. It's because he closed the door para maprotektahan niya tong mga passenger, especially itong katong mga babae, against sa katong kusog nga hangin. So, even though ang katong mga babae kay margichismisan siya, he still did something good nga naka-earn niya og respect. He showcased his linguistic skills and diplomatic approach. So, inana dyan na si Rizal nga pagkatao. Despite kung unsa iyang mga ma-face sa laing nga countries, he is still kanang mo remain igud siya nga professional sa iyang approach. Dili siya katong mo dirit-diretso lang pangitag gulo, ganon. So, yes. Muna siya katong mga nahitabo sa during sa voyage ni Rizal. Now we will talk about Rizal's social life. So, unsa iyang social life about? He befriended many missionaries such as Italian Franciscans, French Jesuits, and a bishop. So, kapilan na ako gabalik-balik, diba? Si Rizal is a very sociable person. Kaning gabi ka siyang mo socialize and so on, and diba as it was described in the previous slide, di ba nga, he is very diplomatic when it comes to his approach. So, mao ko na yung reason nga daghan kong magka-amigo sa iya ha. Kay tungod, kuan ka siya ba? Very professional siya, very knowledgeable, and very respectable po siya. Rizal enjoyed playing chess, and he is praised by Father Damaso as a fine fellow without pride and malice, just like ato kong giyon kanina. Daghan kong makadasig niya because he is very professional in everything that he does, and kablo guta very talented and knowledgeable. And then, in November 20, 1891, Rizal arrived in Hong Kong. He was welcomed by the Filipino residents, especially his old friend Jose Mabasa. So, as he arrived in Hong Kong, he was welcomed by mga Filipino residents na mga friend niya nga ako dito, such as si Jose Maria Basa. He then established his residence at number 5D Aguila Street, number 2 Regna Sola Terrace, where he also opened his medical clinic. So, manig katong address ni Rizal dito sa Hong Kong, in which katong original nga paper or document sa iyahang address. Mana siya. Mao po na siya yung nagsilbi nga address po sa iyahang medical clinic na marag na patukod niya dito. Now, moving on sa iyang life in Hong Kong. He lived in Hong Kong from November 1891 to June 1892. He established himself as an ophthalmic surgeon. Sa Hong Kong, it served as a temporary refuge for Rizal. His time there marked a significant transition in his life and political activities. So, bali, ang life niya sa Hong Kong is dili po niya na-establish ang iyahang pagka-surgeon in terms of ophthalmic surgeon. There siya naka-expand sa iyang knowledge about medicine and stuff like that. And naka-receive po niya mga training sa mga katong na siya mga connection dito. And as we know, di ba, very guni siya, sociable nga pagkatao, gabi kay mo socialize. So, naagoy mga tao nga nakatabang po niya since he is also very approachable po nga pagkatao. So, dili niya na-establish ang iyang ophthalmic surgeon sa Hong Kong, and dili po siya nakakuan po. And as well as sa iyang time po diri is daghan po siya mga na-write po nga mga books or letters which we're gonna discuss later, pero unya ito. Sige, so he wrote to his parents on December 1, 1891, requesting permission to return home. So, pagka December 1, 1891, ni-write siya og letter sa iyang parents nga ga-request siya og permission nga mobali sa iyang hometown. He then received news from his brother-in-law, Manuel T. Hidalgo, about the deportation of 25 people from Calamba. Also stated in his letter that he was preparing a letter to the Queen Regent of Spain explaining the Calamba situation in order to secure justice, even saying such as, "If the Queen will not listen, we will write to Queen Victoria of England appealing for protection in the name of humanity." So, since we know, di ba, ang situation na katong nagod itong mga Spaniards is nagod siya yung mga imbalanced nga nga governance nga nahitabo, di ba? Like, daghang mga tao ang naapi, na ay mga tao nga nahimong slave or stuff like that, no, katong mga gabi kasakas mga taxes and so on. So daghan kitong mga injustice nga nahitabo sa Calamba and of course in other parts in the Philippines as well. So in order po nga matabangan po niya ang mga Filipino people and as well as his family nga live there, he wrote a letter sa Queen Regent sa Spain para matabangan siya. And now we're talking about the family reunion in Hong Kong. So before Christmas of 1891, he was gladdened by the arrival of his father, and Sylvester Obaldo, his brother-in-law in Hong Kong. So pagka Christmas in 1891, ni-arrive ang mga few family members niya in which iyang papa, iyang brother, o iyang brother-in-law sa Hong Kong. Not long afterwards, his mother and sisters Lucia, Josefa, and Trinidad also arrived. So, pagkatiod-tiod po, naabot po diyang mama o diyang mga sisters and Trinidad, naabot po sila dito sa Hong Kong. So, bali nagka-family reunion po sila. On January 31, 1892, he wrote to Blumentritt, recounting their pleasant life in Hong Kong as follows. So, mani ang gisulat. Here we are all living together, my parents, sisters, and brothers, in peace, and far from persecutions they suffered in the Philippines. They are very much pleased with the English government. So, bali, ang unod ani nga iyang letter is, bali, Marshag Guan, about sa ilahang pleasant life or kanang ilang life nga walay kaluoy, like happy sila, comfortable because they are far away from the persecutions or kanang mga injustice. Kay kaulong guta nga dili jud fair, di ba, sa una dili nga katong natong mga Spaniards ga rule. So mani siya, bali mao siya ang content sa iyang letter. Very happy siya kay excuse me, kay happy po na iyang parents nga kapuyo dito. And now we're talking about the ophthalmic surgeon in Hong Kong. So first of all is atong discuss ang iyahang nahimo po nga friend dito. Excuse me. So we have Dr. Lorenzo P. Marquez. He is a friend and admirer who helped him to build up a wide clientele. So balik kani si Dr. Lorenzo P. Marquez is nahimo ni siya nga friend ni Rizal and also an admirer kay nag-admire siya sa work ni Rizal kay kabulong ta very knowledgeable gud si Rizal. So makamangha gud siya nga pagkatawo, and as well as this Dr. Lorenzo is namangha gud siya ni Rizal, and that's also one of the things nga nakapa-push pod nga maka-help siya ni Rizal, in which ni-help siya ni Rizal by helping him build up a wide clientele. When you say build up a wide clientele, bali ang pasabot ani is kanang daghan siyang customers, ganon, daghang mga tao makabalo about niya and so on. And then he successfully operated on his mother's left eye so that she was able to read and write again. So successful kayo ang career ni Rizal diri. Naka-opera siya sa iyang mama sa left eye, sa iyahang mama, in which iyaha siyang gi-operahan para makabasa na pud og usab iyang mama since daot og mata ang iyang mama diri sa left side. And then now we're talking about Rizal's medical practice. So unsa man yung medical practice when he was still in Hong Kong? So in Hong Kong, he became a successful and well-known medical practitioner, treating patients of various nationalities. So, dili lang kay para sa Pilipino po ang iyang service dito, but bali for every people nga gakinahanglan. So, very successful din si Rizal dito sa Hong Kong. He possessed a keen analytical skills. So, kani si Rizal, kabulumtang knowledgeable po ni siya. Very observant po ni siya. Like, maka-observe mo na siya mga kung madali ka siya maka-learn, maka-observe siya even in the smallest details. So, very helpful ko ni siya sa iyahang pagka-imo nga doctor or surgeon. He also demonstrated artistry and lightness of touch. And then, he showed imperturbability and a deep knowledge of medicine and ophthalmology. So, daw ni siya natabang dito po nga time, and he also demonstrated good kaning iyahang very vast amount of knowledge about sa iyahang gistadihan nga field of medicine dito, which is of course the ophthalmology. And he also had a thorough training under Master Ophthalmic Surgeon. So, ako na to siyang i-discuss atong earlier, itong bago pagasugod ang report, di ba? Nga, kani si Rizal is kuan good, kani wala lang ni siya kay siya lang goy nagkakataon sa iyang kagalingon, kundi he also went sa mga trainings gikan sa mga katugong mga professional. Mao na nga grabe gud siya knowledge pod nga na-acquire since naapod siya nadawat nga tabang gikan sa mga professional. And then now we're talking about the Borneo colonization project. So Rizal conceived the establishment of a Filipino colony in North Borneo, Sabah. And in this project, he planned to move those Filipino families to that British-owned island and carve out of its virgin wilderness as a new Calamba. So bali ang kaning Borneo colonization project is kuan ni siya kaning bali ang kaning nga project is ang iyang plano ani is katong mga tawo nga nagkalisod to sa Calamba is iyang i-move diri nga place para ma-far away pud sa oppression sa mga Spanish ug ma-far away sa katong mga injustices. So bali more siya ganing refuge. Mo na siya ang Borneo colonization project. And then in March 7, 1892, he went to Sandakan on board the ship Menon to negotiate with the British authorities for the establishment of a Filipino colony. So, bali ano po ni siya, nag-negotiate, no? Para nga ma-ensure good nga successful ni nga project nga iyahang nabuhat, in which his mission was successful. And then, the British authorities of Borneo were willing to give the Filipino colonists 100,000 acres of land, a beautiful harbor, and a good government for 999 years, free of all charges. So, di ba, successful man to ang iyahang deal nga gihimo, in which siya daw kayang gi-offer po ani sa British authority, in which willing sila na muhatag og 100,000 acres of land and a good government for almost 1,000 years, which is 999 years. So, free of all charges pa na siya. So, kuan good is his project is really going well. And by April 20, he was back in Hong Kong once again. Rizal's friends in Europe enthusiastically endorsed his Borneo colonization project. So, kawala matangada lang kisyong na-befriend dito, di ba, nga mga diplomats and so on. Is kato po mga friend niya dito nga mga Europeans is gi-endorse po to nga gi-endorse ang iyahang Borneo project since very successful po og kuan good, very helpful po ni nga idea nga iyang nahatag. And then Lopez Haina expressed his desire to join the project and wrote to Rizal saying, "I have a great desire of joining you. Reserve for me there a piece of land where I can plant sugarcane, and I shall go there to dedicate myself to the cultivation of sugarcane and the making of sugar, and send me further details." So, naanay ni suporta niya nga usa ka tawo ani nga gikan diri sa Pilipinas, which is si Lopez Haina. In which man siya si Luciano Lopez Haina. He was a Filipino journalist, orator, reformist, and a national hero, well known for his newspaper La Solidaridad. So, mo ni siya, si Lopez Haina mo ni siya ang katunggakuan sa La La Solidaridad. So, now we know kung kinsa siya. Mo na siya ni support ni Rizal sa iyahang Borneo project. Sorry. So, sa Borneo Colonization Project, naapoy, kung naay ni agree, naapoy ni disagree, which is si Hidalgo. On the other hand, objected to the colonization project, saying, "This idea about Borneo is no good. Why should we leave the Philippines, this beautiful country of ours? And besides, what will people say? Why have we made all the sacrifices? Why should we go to a foreign land without first exhausting all means for the welfare of the country?" So, bali, di na nako basahon tanan, but ang giingon sa letter ni Hidalgo is kuan daw, sayang daw ang mga efforts sa mga Pilipino kung mabalhin na sila og laing land, like kuan. Kaya syempre, di ba, dapat ipaglaban mo ang ating country, ganon. So, kuan ni disagree ko ni si Hidalgo strongly ni Rizal. Ani nga idea kay kuan daw, sayang daw ang mga sacrifices sa mga Filipinos kung i-abandon na ra daw ug moadto ra laing lugar. And then next is the infamous whaler whom the Cubans called the Butcher was relieved of his gubernatorial office. So, maoto na ilisa na pod ang governor, in which a new Governor General, Eulogio Despujol, the Count of Caspe, announced to the Filipino people a fine program of the government. Rizal sent him a letter of felicitation, dated on December 23, 1881, and offering his cooperation. But instead, the governor did not even acknowledge receipt of his letter. So, balik kaning bago nga governor, no, ga-promise ni siya sa mga Filipino people nga na siya'y maayo nga program sa government, in which marag ni suporta na si Rizal, in which send siya og letter nga mo-offer siya sa iyahang cooperation. But, wala siya naka-receive og reply. Rizal wrote a second letter, dated on March 21, 1892. In this second letter, he requested the Governor-General to permit the landless Filipinos to establish themselves in Borneo. So, bali sa iyang second letter is ga-request po siya sa Governor-General nga mo-permit sa katong mga walay yuta nga mga Pilipino nga maka-establish sila sa Borneo, which is katong iyang Borneo Colonization Project, in which katong mga walay land, walay mga kapuy-an nga tao, dito niya ipa-transfer. This Pujol did not give Rizal the courtesy of reply. Once again, wala siya reply sa bagong governor. Instead, he notified the Spanish Consul General in Hong Kong to tell Rizal that he could not approve the Filipino immigration. So, instead nga replyan siya is kaning bagong governor, ang iyahang gipa-send sa iyahang message is katong Consul General, the Spanish Consul General nga nasa Hong Kong, in which ingon niya dito nga dili niya maaprubahan ang Filipino immigration sa Borneo. Since according sa iyong letter, the Philippines lacked laborers and was not very patriotic to go off and cultivate foreign soil. So once again, po lain ni disagree sa idea ni Rizal. So now that we're done with the Borneo colonization project, there na punta sa iyahang writings in Hong Kong. So, in his writings in Hong Kong, despite pressures from his medical practice and the Borneo project, Rizal continued writing. So, bisag unsa pa ka-busy ang iyahang life is ga-continue ra Japon siya nga mo write og kuan, mga letters, mga books, etc. And diri is naka-write siya og he wrote ang mga karapatan ng tao, or translated as the rights of man. And then, he also wrote A la Nación Española to the Spanish nation, which is an appeal to address injustices done to Calamba tenants. So, po ni siya laing nga gi-write, no? In which ang kaning second nga kuan nga iyang gi-write is bali para na siya nga ma-address ang katong mga injustice nga nangahitabo sa Calamba. He also wrote sa mga kababayan or to my countrymen, explaining the Calamba agrarian situation. So once again, ganahan siya nga mo-call out sa mga injustices po. So bisag unsa pa ka kuan busy ang life ni Rizal, he has always did his best para gud nga sulbaran niya ang problema dito sa Calamba para po makahelp siya sa Filipino people. And then, after that, sumoto yung mga writing sa Hong Kong. Dili na punta sa iyahang contributions to the Hong Kong Telegraph. He contributed articles to the Hong Kong Telegraph edited by Mr. Frazier Smith. He also had copies of the newspaper reached the Philippines, allowing people to read Rizal's work. And Spanish censors banned the newspaper upon discovering the spread of Rizal's ideas, since kabalamatano katong mga gipang-write ni Rizal is about sa mga injustices. Ang gibuhat sa mga sa mga Spanish is ilang gi-censor. When you say censor is nangita sa pagi nga dili ni mas spread ning iya kaning mga idea ni Rizal para di siya mahibalaan sa ubang mga country or sa mga Filipino people para di siya mabasahan. So, they did their best efforts para ma-prevent nila nga makaabot sa Pilipinas ang mga works ni Rizal. On March 2, 1892, he wrote Una Visita a Victoria Gaol, or A Visit to Victoria Gaol. He compared the humane British prison system with the cruel Spanish system. So, bali sa kaning Una Visita a Victoria Gaol is ang sulod ani is iyang i-compare ang British prison system in which maayo kayo kumpara sa cruel Spanish system, which is another way na pod para makapagpukaw siya sa mga damdamin sa mga Filipino people para ma-call out siya sa atong concerns. Rizal used his time in Hong Kong to continue his advocacy for the Filipino people through his writings and political efforts. His work reached a wider audience despite censorship efforts by the Spanish authorities. So once again, gisensor na po sa mga Spanish para nga di mo kalat ang iyang mga gipang-publish. Pero despite this is nakaabot kapon sa daghang audience ang mga work ni Rizal. And now we have Denouncing Violence in Manila. Rizal wrote the La Mano Roja or the Red Hand in June 1892, printed in Hong Kong. The pamphlet denounced intentional fires in Manila. So, muna siya. And then, another one nga iyang gi-write po is the Liga Filipina Constitution. Rizal's most significant writing in Hong Kong was the Liga Filipina Constitution, printed in 1892, in which false information was given to the Spanish authorities to avoid detection. So, bali, kaning the Liga Filipina Constitution nga iyang gi-write is iyang gi-write siya in a way nga di ka siya ma-detect sa mga Spanish nga kung unsa ko iyang mga buot gipasabot dira. So, bali, para po ni siya nga maka-reach po siya sa mga daghang tao. So, mao siya. Kaning the Liga Filipina Constitution is false information ang gihatag nga dito sa mga Spanish authorities para ma-avoid og detection nga ga-publish to siya ani. In which the Constitution was printed by the London Printing Press. The Liga Filipinas establishment was originally conceived by Jose Maria Basa, which is kabalota diba kadmoto yang friend dito nga nasa Hong Kong. And then finally, a return to the Philippines. In May 1892, Rizal decided to return to Manila. So nibalik siya sa Manila. His reasons included conferring with Governor Despujol about the Borneo project, establishing the Liga Filipina in Manila, and proving that Eduardo de Lete was wrong in accusing him of abandoning the country's cause. So, manay mga reason yung anong ni balik siya sa Philippines or in Manila kay naa siya mga cases or mga conflicts, mga disputes nga ganahan niya nga i-clear. And then we have Rizal's response to Lete's accusation. Rizal vehemently protested to Del Pilar, the editor of La Solidaridad, against Let's accusation. He felt Let's article was hasty and potentially harmful to the Philippines' interest. Rizal stated that he would reactivate the propaganda movement. So, bali, ang katuding gi-publish ni Let is kuan ni siya kaning medyo harmful ang mga harmful ang mga contents. So, basig maka-conflict siya sa mga interest sa mga nagkalain-lain ng Filipino people. So, mong gi-clear up po ni Rizal ganahan siya nga masulbaran ni. Rizal confided in Ponce on May 23, 1882, expressing his regret over the article's publication. He believed nga nakakos ni siya og schism among Filipinos due to personal differences. He hoped nga ma-reconcile niya ni nga mga differences. And then we have his last Hong Kong letters. On June 19, 1892, he spent his 31 and in this is kuan iyang gaspend siya sa iyang pagka 31 nga edad. In his 31st birthday in Hong Kong, he had premonition of his death for the following day. June 20, he wrote 2 letters which he sealed, inscribed in each envelope to be opened after my death, and gave them to his friend Dr. Marquez for safekeeping. So, pagka June 19, which is money ang birthday nga, 31 years old na siya, is evidently, more na siya feeling nga hapit na yan time which is hapit na siya mamatay, in which garate siya mga letter nga iyang gi-sealed ug nakabutang dito nga to be opened after my death. The first letter was addressed to my parents, brethren, and friends. So, anon ka na read good sa tanan nga naa diri ani nga letter since taas man jud kay siya. But bali ang naa ani nga letter is kuan about ni sa iyahang mga thoughts and feelings sa ganahan niya nga ipaabot sa iyang mga friends, families, and mga tao nga close niya. In which nakabutang po diri nga kuan even though na daw siya mga nabuhat nga marag nakaput in danger sa iyahang kaugalingon o sa iyang family, ang nakabutang po dito sa iyang letter is I have no regrets in doing so, kay kabalo siya nga it's for the better para po nga makalaya ang Pilipinas o mahelpan niya ang mga people. And then moving on to the second letter is iyang second letter was addressed to the Filipinos and is as follows. The step which I'm taking, or rather I'm about to take, is undoubtedly risky, and it is unnecessary to say that I have considered it for some time. I understand that almost everyone is opposed to it, but I also that hardly anybody else understands what is in my heart. I cannot live on seeing so many suffer unjust persecution on my account. I cannot bear the sight of my sisters and their numerous families treated like criminals. I prefer death and cheerfully shall relinquish life to free so many innocent persons from such unjust persecution. So, bali kaniyang second letter po is similar lang po siya sa iyang first letter, but mostly ang naani is kanang ga state na siya kung sa iyang mga feeling about sa iyang mga nahimo even though risky sila kabalo siya nga mao ni ang sakto nga iyang buhaton para ma-free niya ang mga tao from unjust persecution of the Spanish. And then, on June 21, 1892, Rizal penned another letter in HK for Governor Despujol. In this letter, he informed the Governor-General of his coming to Manila and placed himself under the protection of the Spanish government. So, bali, direct po siya letter na po atong Governor-General nga mo balik siya sa Manila. And on June 21, 1892, on the same date, Rizal and his sister Lucia left Hong Kong for Manila. By the way, kani HK is Hong Kong ni siya. So, they carried a special passport or safe conduct issued by the Spanish Consul General in Hong Kong. And lastly, Rizal falls into Spanish trap. The Spanish Consul General sent a cablegram to Governor Despujol that the victim is in the trap. On the same day, a secret case was filed in Manila against Rizal and his followers for anti-religious and anti-patriotic agitation. Despujol ordered his secretary, Luis de la Torre, to find out if Rizal was naturalized as a German citizen, as was rumored, so that he might take proper action against on who had the protection of a strong nation. Meanwhile, Rizal and his sister were peacefully crossing the China Sea. They were fully unaware of the Spanish duplicity. So, kaning nga chapter is bali hapit na guni siya atong time na mamatay na si Rizal. But I believe that should be discussed by the next chapter assigned by other reporters. So I hope nga daghan mo nakatunan sa ako ang report and hopefully you enjoyed the report. And that would be all. Thank you.